Hello, brave, wonder-filled soul friends. A topic has been coming up for us for many, many years, and I feel like we're gaining a deeper understanding of it. So I just wanted to share for whatever it's worth, in case it can provide some insight. Um, the topic, the question was, how do you know when you're ready to process trauma? Um, the majority of standardized trauma treatments really focuses on transforming trauma in terms of going back to the trauma. We are only just now learning as a society that this is not a very effective way to address trauma recovery for a variety of reasons. And these reasons are best depicted in The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I highly recommend that book. It really provides the neuroscientific background understanding of what trauma actually does. Because it's not just about an event that occurs. Chicken's got opinion about that. It really rewires the brain-body system. And if there's trauma during early childhood, then it's not just rewiring parts of the brain-body system, it's affecting the entire developmental wiring of the brain-body system because it's still formulating. And so if that happens, there's like a deeper thing. And then, yeah, I know though. You are so chatty. Where did that come from? It's been so peaceful and quiet. Got something to say. Yeah, we creating space for you right now? Are we creating space for you in love? And is that helping your anxiety so that now you feel a little more calm? Yeah? Was that a beautiful example? I think it was. Okay, my turn. So my cat's on the other swing. Like the whole swing is actually swinging. That's funny. He normally doesn't like swings. He's like, "Where are you, Mom? I'm on this swing right now." Way too cute. So we're just now learning as a society that as a human species, right? We're just now understanding, like in the past maybe 5 to 10 years, that trauma recovery has nothing to do, or at least very little to do, nothing to do in my opinion, with going back and re-talking about the stories from the past. And there's several reasons. One, trauma was never processed in stories. The trauma was processed in implicit fragments, not an explicit summary. So when we talk about the explicit summary, we're not actually talking about the trauma that was experienced in our brain-body system. We're completely missing the actual trauma that's inside of us that's causing pain. Secondly, going back to the past when we are struggling to be fully in the present only causes re-traumatization. Because you're not rooted in the present, going back to the past, you're struggling to be in the present, and then you're completely reliving the past. And then, I thought there was a third reason. But yeah, so trauma is processed in implicit fragment sensations. Trauma is trapped in the body, and it has nothing to do with consciously using our mind to talk about the summary of the events. And without a grounding in the present moment, nothing can be processed in the past, from the past. So there's more to trauma recovery than just talking about the bad stuff. You know, and maybe there would be a time and a place for that, but that's not the recovery route that actually offers healing. So how do we heal from trauma? Our consciousness has 3 main layers to it. 5% is our conscious awareness, and the other 95% are filled with subconscious parts and unconscious states. The subconscious parts connect our conscious mind and our unconscious body, and the unconscious states are what our body is made of, that do all these amazing things that help us to breathe and digest food and have skin and all of these physical things that keep us being a person. And so 5% is our conscious awareness, and then the other 95% is filled with these subconscious parts and unconscious states. And you can think of subconscious parts as abstract energy within the brain-body system that's flowing to help communication between the conscious mind and the unconscious states. Is one way of perceiving. Hey, kitty, did you find me? Oh, no, this is another cat. Angel, say hello. Hello, everybody. So, understanding our consciousness from the inside out is a big part, or at least a first step, to knowing how to approach trauma recovery. Because it's not just a story. That's not what trauma is. And that's actually part of the difficulty, is that it never became a story. Stories are process things where all of these various implicit sensations, all of these various memory fragments, if you will, come together and form a story. If I tell a story about how once upon a time I walked across my yard, that's a story about my feet touching the ground, my eyes perceiving the air around me, my ears hearing the sounds of the birds, my breath breathing, my perceptions being in a certain place, my conscious mind being present for the experience, my sensations moving through time and space. And there's all of these various implicit sensations or memory fragments that come together to form an explicit story. And part of what trauma does is it does not get processed as an explicit story. So even when I describe the thing that happened as a summarized narrative, that's not the way that my unconscious consciousness has experienced it or is still perceiving it. It doesn't touch on the actual trauma that's stuck in here causing me pain. And so that's part of the difficulties, that trauma never became a story. Stories require integration. Integration is just where things get woven together. There's the stuff here and there's stuff here, and then the stuff kind of learns to connect and know about one another. To super summarize, that's kind of what integration is. I kind of think of it as like sewing things together. Like you got this thread, and you got this thread, and you got this thread, and you bring all the threads together so that they can have an understanding of one another in a coherent, collaborative, communicative manner. And so trauma sensations are not stories. They're not these integrated, woven together sensations that formulate an explicit story. That's not how they're processed. It's not how they were experienced. That's not how they're processed. And that's not how they're accessed as we continue on forward from the trauma. Yes, Mr. Chatty. Yeah. I don't know if I can get him on camera, show you guys. Yeah, he's right there. He's curious. He's like, oh, what you guys talking about? Oh, what you guys talking about, eh? So trauma doesn't get processed as stories. So going back and talking about the stories does not heal trauma. It doesn't do it. And it's because of the way our consciousness works. When we're in a traumatic state, things aren't getting processed as an explicit thing. Parts of our brain shut down. Parts of our body shift their unconscious activations. And that traumatic response can get lodged in our nervous system and become reactivated. So in the subconscious, you have these implicit sensations of memory fragments. So there's not one coherent story. There's this, and this, and they don't really have a connection with one another. Maybe one aspect of my subconscious remembers the visual sensations. Maybe another aspect of my consciousness remembers a different aspect of sensation. Maybe some aspects of my subconscious don't really know about it at all. And, it can be processed in a variety of ways. And so the subconscious layer kind of has all these different sensational fragments. And then the unconscious states of the body have this traumatic response that's trapped in the nervous system. Meanwhile, our conscious awareness wants to have a story about it, but the story doesn't exist. So when we try to do that, the conscious awareness is not connecting with the subconscious parts or the unconscious states so that things can be healed and processed and everything in the brain-body system kind of brought together in love so that healing can feel tangible. And so healing from trauma is about connecting the conscious awareness with the present moment, growing the ability for mindfulness, growing the ability for dual awareness, where you can stay present out here even while there's stuff happening in here, and you can kind of grow this cognitive capacity, this ability, this skill of consciousness to be here and observe this without becoming lost in this and without disconnecting from this, being present with the moment here and being present with what's being triggered inside from in here. So there's these two, right? So dual awareness, mindfulness, just okay, I'm breathing, I see where I am, I understand, I can feel my body, and even though there's things happening, I'm still present. So the conscious awareness grows a capacity for presence. And a nice way to think about it is a term I like to call SelfState. And it means embodying personal power. And there's 10 attributes to that. I'll try to leave that in the comment or the caption below. SelfState heals the conscious awareness. SelfState means embodying personal power. Embodying self-leadership, which is a reference to Schwartz internal family systems, and embodying SoulSelf, which is basically energies of love. Think of SoulSelf as the aspects of our energies that are love-based, like unconditionally love-based, and Shadow Self as the parts of us that are fear-based, survival-based. Yeah, soul self is this love-based energies of thrival, my new term, the ability to thrive and experience a thriving sensation of life. And shadow self is our fear-based energies of survival. And so self-state heals our conscious awareness. When we embody personal power, self-leadership, and soul self, we can really heal our ability to be present no matter what's going on. Because even if we're drowning in decades of traumatic stress, self-state can bring us to a renewed place of presence, empowerment, and healing. And even when everything seems impossible and things don't get better right away, focusing on self-state can plant seeds of healing that sprout in the weeks and months and years to come. And so even if the experiences only ever slightly decrease in the present, it's doing good long term because you're planting all these seeds to rewire the subconscious neural pathways that are activating these overwhelming sensations. Thought forms can be thought of as the communication between our conscious awareness and our subconscious parts. So different types of thoughts, whether it's an urge or an impulse or a sensation or a desire or a criticism or a summary or a list or an explanation or a defense. And then emotions and stuff can kind of be thought of as the connection between subconscious parts and unconscious states. And so we kind of got all these different connections here, and it's all happening through these energies firing in our brain-body system. And when we plant seeds, consciously redirecting the automated response towards the response that we desire to experience, we're actually planting energetic seeds to rewire our brain-body system and grow new neural pathways that transform the experience of consciousness from the inside out. And the amazing... I agree. The amazing part is that healing has nothing to do with changing who you are. Yes, round of applause. Healing has to do with becoming more of who you are, because you are not traumatic stress. You are not your experiences. You are not your thought forms. You are not your sensations. I agree. You are not your feelings. That's not who you are. Those are aspects of experience, but they do not define your identity. They do not define your worth, and they do not define your potential at all. Healing has nothing to do with changing who we are. It has to do with becoming more of who we authentically are. And at the core of our beings, we are love, light, and miracles. Our conscious awareness brings things into light, brings things into awareness. Our subconscious parts are developed through experiences of love. And, and our new acronym for love, let me pull up my notes in here. Love is an acronym for language of body, omission of language, verbal language, and energetic language. Parts developed through experiences of love, which is all the different ways that humans communicate consciously and unconsciously. Parts are embodiers of love, givers of love, observers of love, and protectors of love. That's who parts are. Parts are not defined by their memories or sensations. They might experience that, but we are not our experiences. Our identity is here, and our experiences are around us. I like to think of it as like a tornado or a hurricane. I get them mixed up, I'm not going to lie. I think it's tornado, where you're in the eye of the tornado or the eye of the hurricane. I know, I'm never certain. You're in the eye of a really big, scary storm, right? And the eye is still. When you're in the center, there is stillness. Complete, total stillness. And all around you is complete chaos, total havoc, everything spinning around you in this maddened sensation of disruptive peace. It's just, we are in the eye, we're in the center. And so no matter what's going on around us, we can find stillness because this, the experience, the sensations, do not define our identity or sense of self. And when they're being perceived as such, that's just an invitation for healing. That's just an invitation to disidentify and learn to transform the unfolding sensations of life experience. It's all a process. Healing is always gradual and never linear. And it's allowed to be such. We don't have to rush it. We're allowed to love ourselves right where we are. You are enough. You are already worthy of love. There's nothing you need to do or achieve or prove or change to be worthy of love. You, right here, right now, are worthy of love. You're enough. You're enough as you are. And you're worthy of experiencing the expansiveness of the truth of your inner being, which is that you are love, light, and miracles. Our light is our conscious awareness. Our subconscious is completely developed in love. And our unconscious bodily states are pure miracles. Nothing but miracles. We are love, light, and miracles at the core of our inner being. Our consciousness is miraculous magic. It's as simple as that. And it may not always feel as such, but feelings don't define us. They're just a part of the experience, and they're really just communicators. Feelings and sensations are just clues of consciousness, pointing us towards what's happening deeper within us so that we can kind of learn about ourselves and learn where we need to pour love into our inner beings to heal, not to change, but become more of who we authentically are. Okay, let's see. Where was I before? We were talking about trauma. A few little inspired tangents there. So transform, right. So when we can heal our conscious awareness by embodying SelfState, which is personal power. There's 10 attributes to that, I believe. Self-leadership, which is a Schwartz reference. And there's 8 attributes to that. And you can remember them nice and easily because self-leadership is 8 attributes that all start with the letter C, and personal power is 10 attributes that all start with the letter P. And so it kind of helps my brain to go to that reference of like, what's another P word? Oh, wait, that's it. What's another C word? Oh, wait, that's it. And so you can kind of get back. I'll leave the list in the description below here. And then SoulSelf, which is really just unconditional love, letting go of judgments, letting go of assumptions, letting go of the need to XYZ. It's unconditional love. You are enough as you are right here, right now, pouring love into every aspect of the unfolding life experience through energetic investments. So that's our conscious awareness. We bring our conscious awareness into the present moment. We grow mindfulness. We grow our cognitive capacity for dual awareness, where we're able to sustain presence with this and this without drowning in this or dismissing this, and while sustaining presence with the present moment completely. I'm not dissociating from it. And then we heal subconscious parts, and then we heal unconscious states, and we can dive into that in other videos. Trauma recovery has nothing to do with talking about the past stories, because it was never processed explicitly, and because we can't transform the past if we're struggling to be fully in the present. So being fully in the present is the first job of recovery. It's the first job. Working on self-state is the very first job of recovery. You can't heal parts without healing self-state, and you can't heal the unconscious states without healing self-state. The conscious awareness is the first priority. And from that, we grow our capacities of consciousness to heal the other 95% of our consciousness. I'm sending you, warriors, the deepest love and the highest level of light. You are worthy of loving yourself, of falling in love with life, of feeling alive, of being in the present moment. You are worthy of transforming the stories in your mind, those automated things your brain tells you. It's not necessarily the truth. You don't have to agree with the statements being created by your mind unless it feels good to do so. They're just messages coming from your neurobiology. They're not the truth of your being. Your being is magnificent. And healing from trauma has nothing to do with talking about the explicit past stories. Focus on being in the present, and then we'll look into how we transform the subconscious parts and unconscious states of traumatic stress in other videos. I'd love to hear from you guys. Please share in the comments below how you're doing today, and what's one thing that you can do today to be more present in love with your own self. Namaste, soul friends. The courageous warrior light in me sees and honors the courageous warrior light in you. Keep the hope, keep the faith, believe in yourself. We are the Hope Revolution.